I'll go ahead and talk more about like my religious beliefs, especially since they're not super common around here. I am like Orthodox Christian, and functionally it is similar to Catholicism, but I know like historically, like sometimes it depends on who you ask, but historically, like Catholicism schismed from Orthodoxy. It's got a bit of a complicated history behind it, but
yeah. And so Orthodox Christianity is actually, I don't know if I've ever talked to somebody who is Christian Orthodox.
It's like
I mean, I know it's a very huge sect, but
because I didn't even, honestly, it's extremely rare in America. Like even I think in the 80s it was called America's best kept secret because it is so hard to find here. You specifically need to go online and look around to see like parishes and churches that are around. Like it's crazy how scarce it is around here.
Well, let me ask you a question about the religion.
Yeah.
If someone were to ask you, what is the primary reason why you believe Christian Orthodoxy, if I'm using the term correctly, what would you tell them?
Well, I guess just to preface, like everybody's starting point is different. Like my starting point growing up is that I grew up in like a Protestant environment, and then I kind of converted later on. I've known people personally that have converted from like modern paganism or Islam or things like that.
Are you saying the main reason why you're a Christian Orthodox is because you were raised that way?
Well, not really. Especially like Protestantism is very different. Like it still has the same kind of like baseline things, but it still is quite different. I guess the main reason is just because in every human being there is like, even from birth, there is an intrinsic desire to like serve a higher power, know the truth, not only about like your own existence, but the existence of others and the happenings in the world. And people hunt for that in different places. I'm not really one that believes that everything is the same, because it's not. Not every path leads the same way, because that's not really how that works. But
well, so and I'm trying to understand the main reason why you believe the belief.
Yeah.
And first of all, on a scale from 1 to 7,
yeah,
how confident are you that this belief is true? Would you say?
Very solid 7. Yeah.
And on a scale from 1 to 7, how important is it for you to believe in true things that are true and real?
Yeah, still 7. Yeah.
All right, so let's suppose Sarah's sitting next to you.
Yeah.
And Sarah is a Muslim. She believes in Islam and that Allah is a real God. And you ask her the main reason why she believes that God is true, a real God, and it's a truth, is that she just says things that, well, similar to what you said, how you know it's true. Remind me what you told me, how you know.
Well, I was just kind of, I have a bad habit of like long prefaces, but it's kind of prefaced with like the intrinsic like human desire for...
That's right, for truth.
For truth and for like completion.
If Sarah has that same desire you do, and then, but she's, for whatever reason, she goes to a different religion, you go to Christian Orthodoxy, and she goes to Islam.
Yeah.
And I'm a third person. I just want to believe what's true in the world. Is there a way I could find out? Is there a way I could know what really is the truth?
Well, since I have been friends with Muslim converts in the past, both from the Middle East and places like Chechnya, so I'm kind of familiar with that sort of thing.
Sure.
When it comes to like the Muslim population, the mass majority don't really know what their own holy books say, and even like secondary writings to the main Quran. A lot of it's very contradictory and deals with things like shirk, which I forget like the strict definition, but...
What if, that's a good point.
Yeah.
What if Sarah says to you, the problem with the Bible is that it's contradictory, and most people who think they know the Bible, they haven't read the Bible. She says that to me, you say that to me, am I any closer to knowing what's true and real, do you think?
Well, that is definitely a pretty, like, valid, that's not, I wouldn't call it a valid criticism, but it is a very common
So
one.
if I were to ask you like the
Yeah.
primary reason why you know
Yeah.
the belief is true,
Yeah.
and if that reason wasn't available to you, you'd have less confidence in that belief. What would that reason be?
What do you mean?
Well, I presume you have some really important reasons why you believe your belief is true.
Yeah.
And these reasons, I suspect, are so important that if those reasons weren't available, that reason or those reasons weren't available to you,
Yeah.
then you'd probably believe the belief less.
Probably not. Just with the history of.
So you're saying that you believe your belief
Yeah.
regardless of the reasons.
Essentially, yes. I've never been very good at verbalizing things. Like I try my best. That's another reason I wanted to do this. There's definitely an exercise in verbalization.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Yeah, I am definitely doing my best. But one of even if you're looking at it from like a perspective of a different Christian sect, Orthodoxy definitely stands out because the Bible itself, even with the criticism that it's contradictory, it still has thousands of years of study that have gone into it by the church fathers that have stayed, like the interpretation has stayed the same all throughout time. There's been little to no debate or change to the interpretation. It's been extremely solid.
Yeah. I think you're telling me, regardless of that,
Yeah.
Whether it was stable or not stable, you still have the belief.
Yeah, just because, just knowing the history as well, just about like the different people that have come into it, and even like I know a lot of people could say the same, which is a valid concern to raise. That like you can say the same about a lot of different things, but one thing is true and one isn't. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's say Sarah says that she believes that Islam is a true religion, and she has reasons.
Yeah.
And let's say her primary reason is that the Quran is a true book.
Okay.
And if it was possible to show her that the Quran was not a true book, not inspired by God, I'm just making this up.
Yeah.
That then she would be less confident in her belief. That she would reduce her belief if the reason for her belief was shown not to be true. What do you think about that?
I forget the argument exactly, but it has something to do with the Quran itself, where people say whether it was created directly by like Allah or whether
what
it
I'm
was
saying
created
is
by
that
man.
there's a scenario
Yeah?
in her mind where she'd be able to reduce her confidence in her belief.
Yeah,
And you're telling me there is no scenario where you'd reduce your confidence in your belief.
yeah.
Do you think it's useful to have a belief, any belief at all, not just your belief, any belief,
Yeah.
that can't be shown to be incorrect? If it's incorrect, I'm not saying your belief is incorrect, but do you think it's...
I mean, if that's your opinion, you're allowed to say that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if your belief can't be shown to be incorrect,
Yeah.
and no one can show you that your belief is incorrect if it happened to be incorrect, then how can you really know that it's true?
I just know that it is. It's definitely one of those things that's hard to explain. Even with the belief that I do have, like even people within it will tell you that it definitely has an extremely solid come and see mentality. And you can talk to as many people as you want, but unless you go and experience it for yourself, it's a bit difficult to understand.
I would imagine that there are other people in different religions that could say pretty much that similar thing, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So, it's just, and I thank you for doing this. I really appreciate this. I think I find it fascinating to have conversations like this, and yes, you're doing a wonderful job.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can seem intense at times, so
No, it's
I
fine.
apologize for that.
You're fine.
But I really do enjoy having these conversations. And I just find it really interesting, fascinating even, when there are people who have beliefs at a 7.
Yeah.
Like your beliefs at a 7, Sarah's beliefs at a 7, and that we're all walking around with these super intense beliefs that we believe are super true,
I know,
and nobody
yeah.
can tell us otherwise.
At the end of the day, really, no matter how confident someone is in their belief, sometimes it is a bit of a placebo effect, but other times it is definitely genuine, whether it be like from my perspective, whether it be like a kind of a demonic device, or if it is actually like genuine, like the Holy Spirit, you know.
If your belief was a placebo effect, how could we find that out?
I don't think I would, because I don't even think it is to begin with.
And I know you don't.
Yeah.
But if it happened to be, just happened to be, how could we find that out?
Well, you would have to do what, like, friends of mine that have converted from Protestantism or Catholicism, it's like, or people that I've listened to that have come from other belief systems, be it like the Amish community or Islam or paganism or whatever. It's like the genuine deep asking of like really complicated questions, and the people that you're asking either brush you off or give you kind of very vague answers. I know sometimes there are answers to questions that are unsatisfying, and I completely understand that it's kind of relative to the person at that point. But really, it really just comes in once you start asking questions and really start to investigate, whether on your own or with some other help from someone.
So asking questions is good.
Yeah, asking questions.
Is that a good way to know whether is asking questions a reliable way to know whether a belief is true?
Yeah, especially to someone who is...
Is it a reliable way to know whether your belief is true?
I would say so.
People asking questions?
Yeah, especially asking someone who is definitely like very well equipped to answer those questions. Like if someone were to come to my parish right now, like because I go to like All Saints Antiochian Parish here in Raleigh, and it's just on the edge of Cary. It's really nice. But if someone were to come in there and they start walking around and asking people questions, then you'll have someone like Korea Destiny, which is the priest's wife, who will like talk to them and then direct them to talk to one of the deacons or the priest or someone like that, or if the bishop happens to be in town, like talk to them. Just because those are people that are like, that have been well educated in the subject, that they're actually like teaching to others, and that they are equipped.
I see where you're coming from. You're saying that what you're valuing here is knowledge, and people
they're very well equipped to answer those questions, while someone like a lay person may not be equipped to answer certain questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could like. I can see a scenario where like I'm talking to somebody who's Jewish, let's say, and I go to their synagogue, and they show me a rabbi who's equipped to talk about Judaism, and they talk, you know, that kind of. It's kind of feel like I'm at the same. I think I'm at the same place, you know. But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If your belief happened to not be true, would you want to know it?
Yeah. If it wasn't true, then I would want to know that it was false.
So I just want to. Okay.
Yeah.
So if your belief happened to not be true, you'd want to know it.
Yeah.
And then you also told me that there'd be no way to know it.
Because I've been through a lot of phases in my life where I believed multiple different things. You'll get a different experience out of whatever you believe. It just has to come with, like, because truth and morality are not, like, relative. They are very solid and grounded in something. It just takes you time to find what that is. And genuinely, I personally believe that me and my friends and everybody else who, like, you know, has found it, I know anybody can say the same, but it's like one's true and one's not.
Right, exactly. And yeah. And I do believe you when you tell me that if your belief happened not to be true, you'd want to know it. And so in my mind, the way one could do that, possibly, is instead of being maybe at a 7 at a belief, a person could be at a 6.9.
Yeah.
Leave that opening so they can investigate. What do you think?
Well, I feel like one of the most effective ways to get someone to question their beliefs with some people, like very loving, gentle approaches do work if they're in a certain kind of headspace. But for the most part, you do have to kind of be a bit offensive at times to get people to question their, like a bit offensive at times to get people to question their beliefs. Like especially, I guess going back to the Muslim angle, like with Muslim.
My goal is not to make you question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm just saying that with like the Muslim angle, like the mass majority of the time, the people that I've known that have converted, like they were offended, and someone like explained to them like why, like they brought these things to them about their belief and explained.
So you're telling me you'd be okay if someone offended you, and you happen to change your belief, and that belief happened to be true? You'd be okay with that?
I have no problem being offended or someone approaching me with a contrary opinion. Of course, whether I choose to believe it or not, But it's perfectly fine, because if you don't welcome some sort of criticism into your belief, whether you want to change your mind or not, then you kind of don't get anywhere. Because whether you...
That sounds, it's confusing to me, because you tell me that you're okay with people challenging your belief and doing criticism.
Yeah,
because
I'm okay being challenged.
I think you're okay with it, because under no circumstances will you change your belief. Is that where you want to be?
Yeah. Genuinely, like, I don't know, some people would call that closed-minded. I don't care. I really don't care if I seem closed-minded, because,
And I'm trying not to see it as closed-minded. I'm trying to see it as how can we best believe a true belief in the way I see it.
Yeah.
And please tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Is that one way to believe a true belief is to leave it open to the fact that maybe that belief could be wrong. I could be wrong about a belief.
When you're just starting out, definitely, I would say that. But once you start getting deeper into it, then like the more deep you go, the more sure you become, and that's kind of natural. And I would say that's perfectly understandable. I would say at the very least in the beginning, when you're
telling me that the belief confirms that the belief is true?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, if it's true, then it should be like self-confirming. Definitely.
Should we believe beliefs that are self-confirming, or should we believe beliefs that are true?
Well, the truth is self-confirming as far as I'm concerned.
The truth is self-confirming?
Yeah, because the truth and morality, like I said, they're not relative. They can't be changed.
Can we believe in false things that are self-confirming?
People can believe them. That doesn't mean that they're believing the right thing. But people believe that sort of stuff all the time. Like walking around a place like this. I'm here because I don't spend that much time with my mom. I decided to come out with her today. I don't really like a lot of this stuff because, like, from my perspective, it's very pagan, demonic sort of stuff. I don't want to participate in it. I just find it interesting. And every now and then you'll find a booth that has just like normal items that you can look at. But like things like this, you walk around and you hear people talking about, I did this and this happened, that means it's real, or you have these different results. And of course, like I said, from my perspective, at the very least, it is a real thing, but it is demonic in nature. Because just because something good happens doesn't automatically mean it was an angel or your spirit guide or whatever people want to call it. Like, just because something good happens doesn't mean that a good force did it, you know?
Do you think the people around here could say that about your belief? Just because something good happens in your belief, that doesn't mean that your belief is true?
I'm sure. And, like, of course, they're allowed to say that. If I'm going to be blunt, they're wrong, but they're allowed to say it.
And they say you're wrong. So where are we then? How do we find out the truth?
Well, growing up with my mom, and she believed all of this stuff. She did it all the time. And
some of these people might have grown up as Orthodox.
Yeah.
And they believed it, and they
possibly,
they say, well, now I do crystals. And
I've seen some people around here that do look like Eastern European or like Arab or something. So
I'm just thinking that,
I can understand
I'm really not trying to be argumentative. I just think the same way you're telling me that their beliefs aren't true, they could use that exact same method and get to a vastly different conclusion to say that your belief isn't true.
It has to do with like some people are more susceptible to like demonic forces than others. Some people are more likely to fall away, and that happens all the time. Like I have friends, or at least one friend, he's Romanian, and he converted from Orthodoxy to Catholicism, which like technically that's like called, like he apostatized, he didn't actually convert, you know, that's what people call it. I say convert just because it's a bit easier to pronounce. But yeah,
well,
I see that sort of thing pretty often. It's sad to see, but it also has to do with the fact that God gave us free will. That doesn't mean that he condones all of our actions, but he gave us free will to act as we please, and how we act kind of determines where we go and what happens to us. And it's like,
Well, I want to tell you that I really appreciate this conversation because one thing you said I think is really correct, that you're I can be much more blunt with you with my questions, and it just rolls right off you. And with a lot of people, I really try to think about, am I asking a question away, so I don't want to sound very offensive. But you don't get offended. I can ask you any question at all, and you seem perfectly fine with it.
It's like when I was standing over there listening to you, and you were talking to the woman about the Mentos thing. It kind of reminded me of like different conversations I've heard about transgenderism, and it's like, what do you think is in here? What is the actual truth of what's in here? And she's like, well, it doesn't matter to me. It can be whatever you.
Like, no, I see where you're coming from.
It's like, okay, just because.
That's what I let you know that I like that about you. I respect that about you. That sometimes I'm really thinking about, and I think we should be nice to other people, but and I try to.
It's like you can be cordial and polite to someone, but that doesn't automatically mean that you agree with them. And like some people take it weird, like if you're hostile toward them or whatever.
And sometimes discussing these things are just kind of naturally uncomfortable. A little bit. I appreciate that. It's really interesting. I really found it fascinating.
And it's like one of the best things, especially when it comes to my belief, is that it is quite a minority belief, especially in like the self-identified like Christian community. It is a bit of a minority belief. So even as whether we're lay people, clergy, monastics, whatever, we have to be very bold about our beliefs and willing to answer questions and have discussions and not like break under questioning, because like.
But that's why I do this. I want people with different beliefs to be able to have these conversations, like what we're doing. We're having a great conversation.
Yeah, I will say definitely, not to sound like arrogant or anything, but I know that my perspective is definitely going to be a bit different from some of the other ones you'll get, especially in a place like this.
In a place like this, absolutely.
I'm probably one of the only people.
It's interesting because I've talked to, things could change, but I've talked to several people today, and most people I've talked to have come with other people and like with friends, and like they kind of ended up here, or their family, and it's not the people I would generally talk to at a Body Mind Spirit Expo.
Like I haven't been here in a couple of years. This is probably the first year in a while that I've been here. Just because my mom comes every year, just because she likes to look at the rocks and the beads and do some of the readings and whatnot. Like I said, I'm not really into that stuff, but I came just because it's interesting.
I'm not really into it either.
It's just one of those things, you know. I will say, like I said, some of the more normal items, like be it like just a ring or just something like this, that I got this not because of any spiritual element.
It's
because
a smudge.
It's like I can get sage from my not sage. I could get incense from my church or order it from like a monastery or something, and it's like perfectly organic. They make it and ship it, whatever. The only reason I got this is because like it smells good, first of all, but it also helps clear out the air a little bit. And I'm gonna have to do some cleaning later today, so this is gonna be useful.
For you, it's not getting rid of bad.
It's nothing
stuff
like that. Because if I wanted something like that, then I would get some incense from my church that's been blessed by my priest and burn that and pray and then go about my day and just let it burn and just like do whatever. Because this definitely.
Your belief. You've been consistent. Today. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Yes.
because like this has no spiritual utility to me. It's very much, ooh, this smells nice, I'm cleaning, because like I have a cat and sometimes, you know, animals can be smelly, so it's good to like that. And not 100% sure, but I've at least been told that this helps to like kill certain bacteria in the air, and it's useful. That and baby's breath is one of my favorite flowers, so that's nice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I found it really fascinating conversation.
Yeah.
This is probably one of my favorite ones today.
Yeah.
And I mean that.